to my channel. This is Tita Lavinia of Titas of Pageantry, and for this episode, I will take you to the making of the Krishna Effect. So please make sure you stick around. Please subscribe to the channel as well as hit that bell notification button for your weekly pageant fix. Hey guys, I know that you missed this setup. I missed this setup, but I've been so busy even right after Miss Universe Philippines. I went on to Binibining Pilipinas and then devoted a lot of my time for Miss Manila. So honestly, I didn't really have a lot of time to film content or even edit them. Like during my free time, I would just sleep it off. So now I think that my schedule is a little easier. So let me go ahead and do this because I've been checking on social media and there seems to be this new thing in pageantry called the Krishnah Effect. And I remember having content on this because before getting to the Krishna Effect, meaning to say the road to an iconic gown, the road to an iconic gown performance, a lot of things happened, and I really wanted to take you to that whirlwind of a ride because it's not very often that I get like front row seat on what's actually happening. So let me take you back to around May 9th, leading to the finals of Miss Universe Philippines to May 13th. But before that, let me give you a little bit of an explanation why this means a lot to the Filipino pageant fans. So if you have been pageant fans for quite a long time, then you're aware that at Binibining Pilipinas, where most of these major titles were housed, we didn't really have a lot of choice whenever it came to evening wear. Prior to Maxine Medina's time, which was in 2016, our girls weren't allowed to pick their own designers. So the gowns that they wore for the finals were mostly connected to the brand that was associated with Binibining Pilipinas, which of course a lot of you know as cumbia. So we really didn't have a lot of options when it came to choosing gowns that would fit the right girl. Mostly it would be whatever was available. And in a way, that's also challenging because you're stuck with a gown which isn't the most high fashion or the gown that wasn't made for you, but you just really have to make it work. That's why we have the likes of Kia walking as if she had already won Miss Universe in that python gown. And then you also had the likes of Janicel, who wore a gown that really didn't do justice to her figure. But a lot of these performances we remember because this is the very example of the girl carrying the gown. So when Pia won Miss Universe in 2015, this was where Binibining Pilipinas also became more lax with their rules and allowed more Filipino pageant designers or Filipino designers to create gowns for the nationals. Although there have been practices of designers dressing out pageant girls for the nationals at Miss World Philippines. Of course, a lot of us were glued at Binibining Pilipinas because out of all the national pageants, Binibining Pilipinas, whenever they would make these decisions, are just a little behind in doing so. So I think that when it comes to iconic gowns in Philippine pageantry, we only have a few of them. I'm actually thinking of creating another episode for that. I just don't know if I have enough information. But so far, at the top of my head, when you talk about iconic pageant gowns in Philippine pageantry, these are the gowns after 2015. And there are only a few of them. At the top of my head, definitely Catriona Gray's 2018 gown and gown performance. I mean, that one really opened our eyes to the possibilities of really pushing forward and being more hands-on when it comes to really creating your look for the nationals. And then followed by that was Gazini's iconic Carrie Santiago because the color was so punchy and it bordered on couture, something that we haven't really seen in Philippine pageantry. And then in the more recent years, I can really think about the pristine Eliza Malinaw Terno at Miss Universe Philippines. I mean, I think up until now we're trying to replicate the elegance and just the impeccability of that workmanship and the impact that gave the Filipino pageant fans. So really takes a gown look that will be copied not just here in the Philippines, but also in other countries. And when that happens, that's the making of an iconic gown. So in this case, we're going to talk about Krishna Gravidas's gown by Rian Fernandez because, like what I said earlier, I had a front row seat at what actually happened. So right now, there is this thing that's going around social media. It's called the Krishnah Effect, and this is because a few days ago there was footage or photos that came out on social media, and this was for the queen of the Bocana Festival, Trixie Campania. So apparently, she had like a dress inspired by Krishna's look. I mean, I know that the look was just so fabulously gay. I definitely get the concept. I thought she did a really good job with the big hair and the cinched waist. So for me, that's really an indicator on an iconic look in the making. So this was further cemented by the appearance of the newly minted Miss Universe Albania 2023, Andy Demneri. So just a few days ago, pageant pages started making collages of the comparison between Krishna's gown and her version, which I think is pretty similar, of course, to Krishna with some touches of Leo Almodal, if you know what I mean. Well, of course, I'm going to flash the photo, but yeah, it was such a good, I wouldn't say copy, but it was such a good look inspired by Krishna's gown. I thought that was really amazing. I worked for Krishna's management team as a consultant. So the way I do it is that I check on social media, I check on maybe the image, and then steer them in the right direction. So by the time I came on board as a consultant, Krishna and her team were already set on designers that they would be working with for the finals. So Krishna was handled by her team in Baguio, and one of the first decisions that they made was their choice of a designer for the finals, prelims and finals. And because Krishna was pretty active in the pageant scenes in Baguio as well as Ilocos, it was no surprise that they got the support of Rian Fernandez, one of the celebrated pageant designers these past couple of years, who hails from Pangasinan. So it was no surprise that they would collaborate on a look because Rian has always been very supportive of Krishna. I know that Krishna did some modeling jobs for Rian, so they were the perfect choice for the evening wear. And then, from what I do know after I got on board, was that everything was pretty set. They had a sketch, it was approved, budget was also approved. So we were just waiting for the final product to arrive. So if you remember that week, if you remember the weeks leading up to the finals of Miss Universe Philippines, it was pretty grueling for the girls, and they started doing a lot of these appearances, and then a lot of these events and then challenges were scheduled pretty close to each other. So we were, as a team, we were really glued on getting her out there in her best OOTD. So we were really glued on her daily wardrobe, that even if the team already had plans and already had sketches and all of these things prepared, nothing prepared us for what would happen just days before the finals. So of course, because we were just so preoccupied with her daily looks, by the time we were reaching the prelims, moving on to the finals, we started checking out what happened to the actual gown because we had no idea where it was. When I got the message on May 9th, it seemed that there was a problem. It seemed that the gown didn't exactly look like what they all had in mind when the sketch was approved. And if you could see, there is a little bit of a difference with the sketch to the actual gown. My concern was that I just didn't really have any idea how fast people would work on a gown, but they kept on asking my opinion on what I thought about it. And if you go ahead and check on the photo, the gown really did end up looking more on the bridal side because there was a white fabric underneath the beaded aspect of it. So honestly, I really thought that we were going to lose it at that time. So one of the first decisions that I really pushed for was that to secure a backup. It doesn't matter if it isn't at par, but to at least secure a backup just in case something happens. So when all of the talks were happening on May 9th, and we were getting a little upset because of course a lot of us had grand plans on how Krishna would appear at the finals. We thought that we had a really strong candidate that we were cultivating. So we wanted everything to be perfect for her because the team even planned this ahead of time. But what I realized as part of like a team preparing someone for Miss Universe Philippines or maybe Binibining Pilipinas is that no matter how well you plan, no matter how early you plan, SHIT happens. I mean, something just happens that you can't control. So maybe in the next couple of episodes or in the next couple of years, I will be a lot kinder with my analysis or observations because now I understand that even if you plan for this, a lot of things aren't in your control. So as early as May 9th, we were looking for a backup, but we were also hoping that things could be done. Actually, they even asked me, Tita, if we change Krishna's makeup and then go for a bold red lip, would it change the fact that it still looks bridal? And one of the reasons as to why I'm hired for these things is because I have freedom to say it as it is. Hopefully they won't take it against me, but if they want an honest opinion on where things are going, I guess they come to me. And I said, a red lip won't remedy the fact that Krishna's assets, which is her physique, beautiful arms, the tiny waist, the bust line, it's her legs, no one can see it. So yeah, we were a little hopeless at that time. But you know what? It was a really good way for us to really push ourselves and check out what we could do. So May 11th, we're still not sure what we were going to do with the gown. The last information I had was that they were going to bring the gown back to the workshop. No, what's that workshop? To the atelier of Rian Fernandez to have the gown reworked. And one of my fear at that time was that, every time a gown gets reworked to its limit, it loses its integrity and it might change the whole look altogether. But at least the team was thinking ahead of time. They were securing the backup. They even thought of like a courier service to bring the gown back to Pangasinan to have it work. So can you imagine? This was the 9th, this was the 11th. So we weren't sure what was going to happen. So during the morning, the afternoon of the 11th, I was engaged somewhere. Mars France and I were engaged somewhere. But Miss Jam, one of the heads of Pro Media, Krishna's management team, managed to arrange a look test just so we can remedy the whole look. Now, one of the things that I kept on pushing for was a fresher makeup look. That's why the look test was really a welcome event for us because we can at least check how she would look like with straight hair, with wavy hair, with something that's more structured because we wanted to check on everything. And even if it was really late in the evening, we went for it. We went for the look test that started past 11 in the evening. So by this time, they were able to secure the backup, which was a gold gown, and they were able to redo the gown that looked like a bridal gown just a few hours before. Now, this is where the magic happened. Hey guys, so this is actually what happens a few days or at least a few nights before the competition. So meron kaming final look test para ma-figure out natin. There's Miss Jam, of course, of Pro Media, and of course, Mars France. So, sige, titingnan natin kung ano bang mga options natin. So, we have several options for Krishna. And this is option number 1. So, it's, as you know, it's very gold. Maganda to pag naisuot, mamaya makikita natin. And this is of course option number two. It's lingerie inspired with a lot of beadwork. This one is from Rian Fernandez, of course. So we're gonna see that later on. Let's go ahead and check out the details. Alright. Isa to sa mga paborito ko kapag medyo nakikisaw-saw ako sa mga pageant hanash. I really want to check out the details because these are the little things na hindi natin masyadong natututukan because of the camera dahil usually ang lalayo ng mga shots natin. So this is for the gold gown. However, for the silver gown, nung una, medyo masyadong bridal yung silver gown sa amin and then we had a little bit of changes. So, eto na siya ngayon. Titingnan namin because at first medyo hindi kami masyadong on board dito but let's see kung medyo mag-work. So, hindi namin masyadong nag-ayos. Eto na yung mga panel na mga mag-check kung tama na ba ang timplada. So, tingnan natin. Ano ba? May magbabago ba? Let's see.
Krishnah Effect from Baguio City. Krishnah Effect from Baguio City.
Modeled the first gown for us, the one that came from Davao and was shipped on that same day. It was a gold gown. It had a very Zuleika feel to it, and it looked good on her. My only critique was that, and I'm really very particular about this, was that the length. It just wasn't long enough for me. And even if it looked good on her, because I knew of the history of the gown that was reworked, I was afraid that it would be overworked. I was leaning already towards this gold gown, but just the length was killing me, and I didn't want to like push it if I felt that something was off. So I liked it, but I wasn't like so in love with it. And I think that my companions, Mars France and Miss Jam, also felt the same way. So we had her with straight hair. I mean, she looked really beautiful, like an Egyptian goddess, but I was also a little afraid that they might, or the netizens might think that it's just too Venezuela. I don't know. I just felt a little apprehensive because this was not the gown made for her. And I felt a little sad with the idea that you prepared long for this and the gown isn't made to measure for you. Like it wasn't special enough for me for someone's special night. But if it were a backup, if it was something that we were stuck with, I think that she could have really worked it. So next came the reworked gown. And out it goes, and it's beautiful. Rian and his team made it work the last minute. Let me go ahead and give you a blow by blow account on what actually happened. First of all, they removed the white fabric. So, right then and there, it doesn't look bridal anymore. And then they attached this to a really, really sexy bodysuit in a nude tone. And it gives an illusion immediately of fit and form. You could see her legs this time. You could see the beadwork. The beadwork is beautiful. You could see the crystals. It does look expensive. It looks like it was paid for. Um, the beadwork at the side, the black beadwork that gave an hourglass figure illusion, it worked. Now, what we noticed was that Krishna was absolutely glowing. I knew that she was also waiting for validation because a lot of us were not very happy with how it looked like the first time. And, now we were in awe with all that light, all that crystal work. We initially wanted a fresher look for her for the finals, but we later found out that, yeah, these girls had to be done very early in the morning, so they really didn't have a say on who's going to fix them up in the afternoon, even before the show. So their makeup had to be really as strong as cement. So I could understand if a lot of you felt that the makeup and the hair was just a little too much. This was not what we planned for, but they had to adjust because of the requirements of the final show. But going back to the night of May 11th, everything looked perfect. I mean, she was happy. We were happy. We knew we had something. We knew that it was really hyper blingy. Maybe not a lot of people will respond to it, but we knew that a lot of people will respond to a cinched waist. Now, what we found out was even if Krishna has already the perfect physique, because a lot of these girls had to go to so many activities at Miss Universe Philippines, a lot of them lost weight. And Krishna was no exception. Even if the gown was perfect for her, we found out that it needed more adjustments, at least 2 inches more to be removed or to be altered just to make sure the gown had the perfect fit. So what happened was that when we finished very late or very early in the morning, the gown had to be transported back to Pangasinan in the morning of May 12. And by this time, the girls already had to be checked in their hotel. So while that was happening, Krishna didn't really have a gown for the finals because the atelier workers had to work on Krishna's gown in Pangasinan and then make sure to bring back the gown to Manila in the evening. So Krishna did not have her gown up until the morning or the afternoon of the final show. And when she came out, the look, let me tell you, became the look that a lot of people talked about because it fit well. It was to the extreme that it looked couture in a way. But I think what is making it even more iconic is Krishna's performance. I mean, she thought of murder, she thought about her movements, and she knew how to change her gaze. She knew how to play with the camera and to play with the audience. So that's how it is, the making or the birth of an iconic look. So I hope that you had fun getting first-hand information and a front row seat at what actually happens when people have to make these tight decisions to create the perfect look. I will see you very soon, guys, and yeah, goodbye.